him. He serves as the director of Airtight Networks Incorporated, and he serves as the CTO currently. He's the founder director there. He did his computer science BTech in computer science at IIT Kanpur, and did his PhD in computer science from University of Maryland, College Park, USA. He is a pioneer in wireless networking and is a very accomplished researcher with 13 years of experience in leading cutting-edge research and development in wireless networks and mobile computing and technology development, and setting up the airtight networks. It goes to his credit, and he has numerous research papers and patents to his credit. Recently, he accomplished his accomplishments include design and rollout of a very large-scale outdoor wireless LAN network connecting WLAN network connecting 2 cities in north of India. And prior to that, he was at AT&T Research and IBM Thomson J. Watson Research Center, New York, where he spearheaded several wireless technologies and innovation projects. And he is very renowned, and he serves on the editorial board as an associate editor of IEEE Transaction on Mobile Computing, and also serves as a guest editor of IEEE Networks. So it's a pleasure and honor for us to have him here and listen to him.
So I'm going to set the stage for today's presentation. The topic which I was given was institutional innovation and infrastructure for innovation. And to be very honest with you, I do not have very well-formed thoughts on either of these topics. I only have some real-life case studies and stories, and how I have encountered Murphy's Law over and over again, attempting to do some of these things. And so what I thought, instead of giving a structured presentation, I'm just going to present 3 real-life stories. And hopefully, as we kind of hear those stories, some interesting observations or interactions, through interactions we'll arrive at some interesting observations. And while I was thinking of how to structure this session, the first name which came to my mind was Manish. Actually, Manish was my junior at IIT Kanpur. His background is, he was a distinguished scientist at Synopsys in California. One day he decided to quit his job, move back to India. And his passion is in building toys through which you can teach mathematics and physics concepts. And he'll show some excellent examples of what he does. And I thought, since this whole session is all about coming up with some out-of-the-box ideas for inspiring innovation, creativity on college campuses, I cannot think of a better example than Manish, who is really spearheading that change. So currently Manish is at IIT Gandhinagar, but he was kind enough to join me for this session today. And what I'm going to do is to dedicate the second half. So I have 2 sessions today. In the first half, I'm going to tell more about my story of Mojo Networks and how it all happened. And the second half, I'm going to devote to Manish's work that he has done some amazing. I mean, I'll reserve for the second session, because it's a post-lunch session. I'm very much awake, and I can guarantee you that all of you will be very much awake with the kind of. And I have deliberately put him in the post-match because I can get the easy slot and then he can do the more difficult one. So with that kind of a background, I'm going to talk about 3 real-life stories. And the first story is the story of Mojo Networks itself, the company that I started, which just about 3 months ago got acquired by another big company called Vista. So it's been a 15-year-long journey of building a technology company out of India and finally getting to a level of global recognition. How this whole company came into existence, what were the challenges we faced, what were the systemic barriers we faced, and so on. We kind of go through a discussion of that. And just to give you an example of one of our successes, these days you have seen Reliance is rolling out 4G network throughout the country. Alongside, they are also putting up Wi-Fi hotspots everywhere. So you will see Reliance Geo hotspot at airports, hotels, colleges. So the entire technology behind it is supplied, created by us all in India. and it's a massive scale network which is being rolled out, and the entire thing is sort of done by us. And I'll tell you more about what we do and so on, and the story of Mojo Networks. The second story, if you get time, I'll tell you about a simple idea which came out of a chai conversation, and it resulted in creation of a movie, full-fledged movie, and how that all happened, how the sort of process of entrepreneurship and creative thinking sort of rolls into action. I will tell you something about it. And third is a little story of a eco-restoration project I am doing close to Pune. And the idea there is to take a completely barren patch of land which has no water, no trees, nothing, and convert it to a green zone. This is again an idea which bubbled up somewhere, and we started to take action, and the ball is in motion. How it all happened, and through these three examples, maybe I'll try to kind of make some point that how the process of entrepreneurship gets fired up, how it grows, and how do we create environments on college campuses so that more and more people feel inspired to take such leaps in action. So at this point, I'm going to switch gears into a talk which I had prepared for a presentation at ISC Bangalore some time ago. And the title of the talk was Confessions of an Accidental Entrepreneur. So just to kind of anchor my story more to the real ground, I am actually from downtown Kanpur. That's where I introduce myself. I grew up in the city of Kanpur. Luckily, I got through JEE, joined IT Kanpur, computer science, did my undergrad, went to US, did my master's and PhD there. Again, got lucky, joined IBM PJ Watson Research Center, and got in the area of what we call as Wi-Fi. So I was part of a small group which was tinkering with building wireless connections. And it was a group of 4 people. I was the 5th person who joined, just sort of fresh out of college. And we made some toys. And suddenly that project became extremely successful. So what we see today, Wi-Fi, the technology actually came out of the prototype, which was built at IBM Research. And just to give you an example of the pictures, this is actually the prototype we built in IBM Watson Lab in 1995. This is even before the term Wi-Fi was coined, and I remember the level of excitement that I felt when we were successfully able to transmit packet from one device to another device. It was like aha moment, almost like a Archimedes Eureka moment, except that we had our clothes on. And it was, I would say, to tell you how exciting that moment was. The only other event that I remember which generated that level of excitement was when I was a kid and I rode the bicycle for the first time. That was such a aha moment. Oh my God, this is like heaven. So it is that feeling of, and I think that one of the neuroscientists can comment that maybe the adrenals or the chemicals that flow in the brain that really generate that energy at that time, which sort of gives you power to kind of let's do next, let's go on and go on. The question is sort of how do we really institutionalize that process, right? So my story is 1990. I was a grad student, joined University of Maryland College Park. We were working with large workstations connected by this jumble of cables. And over a chai break at midnight, we thought, someday will come when we will replace these cables by some wireless things. Won't it be cool if we could do that? And that's how the kind of idea originated. And a stroke of luck, I ended up at the right place with the right sort of people, built a prototype, and then the industry took off. In 1999 onwards, it became a standard. And when companies like Cisco announced that they're going to be launching these products in the global market, it sort of triggered some thought in my mind that, look, this is a technology that I know very well. I've been part of creating it. Why is it that I can't build a company which essentially builds it and takes it to the market? Why do I need to work for someone? Why can't I do it on my own? And sometimes, I don't know if you felt it this way, if you're in your flight alone, flying high above the sky, and you see this whole vast expanse of the earth, you get these reflections and some new thoughts, and you sort of try to figure out what is your existence in the bigger space, what you're doing, and those kind of train of thoughts. One of the thoughts which crossed flying back from New Jersey to India, and just about this time in 2002, that I have been in technology space for a very long time. And I've seen that India has been a very successful country in the IT services space. Great examples, TCS, Wipro, Cognizant, many other companies. But you will struggle to find success stories in the pure product space, right? And this kind of thought triggered my mind that why that's the case. Why is it that we struggle to find good companies which have innovated and built products, right? And I think I'll pause at this point and maybe turn this into a question that if you notice, great examples of service companies in India. You will find 10,000 examples. But let's say you want to buy a product like a phone or a router. The number of suppliers are very limited. Let's say a router, for example, right? You can only buy it from Cisco, from Juniper. That's pretty much it, right? So in a highly competitive market, global market, why is it that there are only very few suppliers of technology products? But if you look at the services space, there are 10,000 plus companies ready to provide you service offering. But it's an open market. It's a highly profitable, productive market, but there doesn't seem to be too much of a competition there. Very, very few players. And no examples that you can find from India. Companies which are rooted in India have tried to build a product that kind of sold it. So that thought kind of bothered me. And I had to say, let me explore what's going on. This can't just be a coincidence. There has to be something deep underneath it. So maybe before I kind of start sharing my thought, let's turn this into a small discussion. Why do you think that there are no examples of product companies in India?
IPR problems.
IPR problems. Okay. Definitely. What's the problem?
IPRs are mandated by European or American.
No, but there is nothing prevents us from creating an IPR and filing patents.
Yes,
There are no barriers as such.
We are starting now.
Yeah. But I would say there are no barriers, yes.
We are service-centered. Maybe our
We are service-centric. Why?
maybe our
That's
students.
the training that we got.
That's the training that we got. I would
Yeah.
say.
Hands-on training is not there in the institutions. I mean, our
But if you look at a lot of very successful entrepreneurs out of Silicon Valley, they have come out of this system.
Yes,
then
that is
ecosystem
true.
is like.
So it is the DNA is there. And they are extremely successful out there in the valley, but why the same DNA who are staying are not able to create companies like Google, Yahoo,
Then
Microsoft in India? Yes.
There might be very nice prototypes in lab,
Yes.
but then the person who has developed it feels there is a huge barrier to cross, and he doesn't know the process of taking it
But
from
I'll argue,
to
it is the same people who are successful in valley.
Ambience actually, the
Ecosystem.
It is the
enablement actually.
It is the ambience, it is the ecosystem. So I don't think there is any dearth of talent
Yes,
as
no.
such.
Then it is.
And I'll give you a very simple example. You take a small tree sapling, you plant it. If you don't give it proper water, fertilizer, it cannot grow. But if you put the same sapling in a piece of land which is very conducive, has the right climate, the right supportive ingredients, that sapling will grow very fast. So my contention is that saplings exist in our college systems, in our institutions. As leaders, it is our responsibility to see can we create the right environment for these saplings to grow. That's sort of a very, very, so when I was sort of sitting in a flight and sort of flying back, I said, well, let's say the environment doesn't exist, but you have to start somewhere. So let me move back to India and give it a shot to try to build a company completely out of India, right? So I quit my job. I used to work at Bell Labs at that time. I quit my job. My wife thought, she has married a madman. I said, why would you quit a job with nothing else in your hand? Luckily, I had great relationships with IT campus, so they accepted me as a visiting faculty member very willingly. So I landed here on campus. I became a visiting faculty member at the computer science department. And I was here for 3 semesters. And then I hired 5 students from the class I was teaching. These guys had offers to go to US for their masters and PhD. I made them an offer that, look, you are going to do your MS, PhD anyway. Eventually you're going to go there. Are you willing to invest 2 years of your life in trying something new. If it fails, you can go anywhere. And as you know, you want to go there to do what? So then we want to work in a startup. I said, well, I'm going to create right here. But there was like a hesitation and offers in hand. But if you make offer to about 20 people, you will find 5 of them will take your bait. So I found 5 students in my class who were naive enough, I would say, to take my bait, and they said, okay, we will defer our admissions for 5 years, or for 1 year or 2 years, and see how it goes. So that's how the company started. And then I quickly moved to Pune and started this Wi-Fi venture.
Why did you move to Pune?
See, I quickly realized that while Kanpur is a great place for finding talent on campus, if you tell them a lifestyle choice that this is where you're going to stay and back in 2002, I just didn't see that resonance on students. So Pune was a much more favorable destination. It was one reason. Actually, there were 3 reasons. So one was it was difficult to sell Kanpur as a location. Second reason was I knew this is going to be a very intense journey. And my wife had already classified me as a madman. So I knew she will need someone as a supporting in the marriage. So her sister was in Pune. So I said, if I am running around on the road, she needs a crying shoulder. So that city is better because I think she will find some emotional support. And the third was a pure coincidence. That when computer science department here was inaugurated, Narayan Murthy came here for that event, and all the who's who of India, Silicon, Bangalore were invited. And I was a speaker in that event. And luckily, I bumped into one person over a coffee break. His name was Kiran Deshpande. He was the former chief executive of Mahindra British Telecom. So I bumped into a person who was the CEO of a very large company, and we exchanged business cards. And then when I went to Pune to drop my bike, I pulled out the card and called him up. Hey, I'm in town. We bumped into that event at IIT Kanpur. Should we have coffee? He said, yes, let's meet for a coffee. And then we started talking, and we hit it off very well, and he became the co-founder of the company. So it was a complete chance, and he was based in Pune, so that kind of reinforced my decision to be based. So it was just not a very well planned, but a series of coincidences which kind of led to that decision. So while I was kind of thinking, no good examples of product companies in India, lots of successes in the services sector. Why is it that there isn't even a single company? So, well, why not? Just let's think through what does it take to create a startup. Right? So my simplistic worldview was that all you need is an idea. You obviously need some funding. You need to assemble a group of energy, talented, fired up people, and then you just need to sell whatever you've created. So it doesn't look like all that difficult, right? All 4 variables as analytical thinkers, seems like, and you see I've seen so many people in US who had done it. So, and in retrospect, I realized that I was naive to make that assumption, but sometimes you can get into doing things when you don't know, and that naivety is what helps you. And I think, so I said, well, doesn't look so difficult, so I'm just doing it. And that's what caused me to quit my job and sort of move back to India. And when I sort of arrived here and started really pitching the idea to the investors, that's when the real story sort of started. So the first people said, look, tell me what is your idea. So we said, well, our idea is, since I am in the wireless space, I said, well, I'm going to build some sensor devices which will detect what's wireless signals in the air. State of the art is that there are sensing devices already available in the market, but I'm going to create something which is more sophisticated, more advanced, and that sensing technology is going to solve a lot of security problems in the enterprise network. That was the idea. And so we said, well, people said, well, the idea sounds good, but if your idea really has value, then big companies must already be doing it. So if big companies are already doing it, then why will your idea sort of work? You have nothing. You're just talking about some big dreams. So what I realized at that point, that you have to be able to articulate your idea so crisply that you kind of stand out. Otherwise, it's extremely difficult to establish. You have no credibility, you have no kind of a prior success behind you. How do you really convince people that you got something which is kind of differentiated? So we then sort of created some early prototypes, and we showed that the state of the art is on the left. People are building sensing devices which just dump data on the screen. We have some very sophisticated classification algorithms. Using it, we can classify all the detected activity in the wireless into bins. So green means it's all secure communication that I'm detecting. Blue means it's communication in the air which is coming from the neighbor's network or neighbor's building. It is benign, you don't have to worry about it. It is red, which means this is some communication that is problematic. It is a security threat to your enterprise network, and you have to be able to not only detect, but you have to be able to block it. And we are creating this technology which is going to detect, block, and it will do it all automatically, because the state of the art is you have to manually inspect everything and then sort of get to the result. It's a quantum leap forward from where the technology is. And what helped us that we actually wrote a bunch of patents which got granted around the key invention that we created. And the fact that we had those patents gave confidence to investors that, yeah, these guys probably have something which is really, really powerful and worth. Okay. Let me actually just switch to. Okay. So with that sort of a clear articulation, we were able to sort of get our story sort of started, and we kind of crossed the first barrier of convincing people that we have something differentiated, because we were able to articulate. And you may have heard of something called an elevator pitch, that if you are going with elevator with someone, the amount of time you have available, if you are able to articulate your vision within that time, that is when you've got the clarity of your vision and what exactly you're looking for, and the passion which you communicate. If you can't convey it, then pretty much that opportunity is gone, and you've got to look for another elevator ride, catch someone else to tell you what exactly you're doing. So it took us quite a bit of time, a lot of rejections, to get to that crisp articulation of what we were trying to do. And then we sort of hit the real big barrier. You know, how do you get other people to invest in the idea which you are completely convinced and fired up about? So I must have given presentations to, I think, easily 60 or 70 venture capitalists. And there comes a time when you sort of get really disheartened. You know, I'm just making a pitch. People say, yeah, nice, good. What will this happen? What will that happen? I'm not so excited. And I think the lesson that I learned in the process is advice is what you get when you're looking for money. And this actually happens all around your life. At home, your friends, your colleagues whom you are trying to seek advice, lots of advice. You know, आप ऐसा क्यों नहीं करते हो, ऐसा ट्राई करो, ये ऐसा मुझसे मिल गया हो, उन्होंने ऐसा किया हुआ है. And there comes a point when you get sort of completely frustrated. And I think what happened was that frustration, I let it out in one of the meetings I was having with the VC. So I'll tell you the story. I walked into this VC meeting, and this probably must be my 45th presentation to the venture capitalist. So I said, look, I know your time is valuable, my time is also valuable. I am here not to take any advice. I am here to ask for money. If you have money, we will talk. If you don't have money, I am out of here. So he said, no, don't go. Let's sit and talk. He sensed something that, there is some desperation, some fire, something. And I did sort of get money at the end of the meeting nonetheless. But what I saw, that the engagement level was much better. That he was really listening what I had to say, and he gave some other leads, and then I followed those up, and eventually got out of my funding. But what I realized that when you are asking for money, there is no way the amount of balance sheets or models and cash flow or that exercise is complete waste, because you can't predict what is going to happen. The future is so uncertain. It is ultimately your passion of what you are trying to do is what convinces people that you are the right leader or have the right sort of guts to try something out. And if you happen to know an uncle who's a millionaire already, it helps to get that money easily. But if you don't know, you have to go through the trusted chain of friends or connections to actually arrive at the right decision makers and somehow convey your passion to be able to get whatever you're looking for. So, to cut the story short, in fact, let me give you some examples. Since I said you get advice for free. So the advice that I got first is, well, your idea looks interesting, but if it is so powerful, then big vendors must already be working on it. They have bigger teams, they have bigger R&D group budgets. Then someone says, look, I like your idea, but risk is too high, because it's like you are trying to grow trees in desert where there is no ecosystem. So what are the chances that a tree will grow? Because you have to now fight every barrier. You have to fight the climate, you have to fight water, you have to bring fertilizer. Odds are too high, there is no way you are going to be able to sort of survive. So risk is too high. I love everything you do, but I am not going to put my money on it. Then the advice you get is, look, team, why will people, the best talent that you're looking for, why will they work for you? I mean, they have other offers. They will go to Cisco, they will go to Juniper, they will go to Yahoo's of the world. Why will they come to work for you? And then finally, look, even if you somehow manage to cross those hurdles and still make your product, who will you sell it to? कौन buy करेगा? भाई buy तो हम उसी से करेंगे जिसकी RFP बनी हुई है और जिसका प्रोसेस सेट है. तो नए वेंडर को कौन पैसा देगा? तो आप बेच नहीं पाओगे. तो बॉटम लाइन इसकी जो आप कर रहे हो, वो सक्सेस होने का चांस बहुत कम है. इसलिए आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू, बट आई अप्रिशिएट व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. Great. So at some time I realized, first I was trying to kind of give logical answers to people. That idea is great, they know Cisco doesn't have it. Team, we will be able to attract even that talent which these guys want. And at some time I realized that, look, there is just no point trying to logically argue. Because being an entrepreneur, this is a very key lesson learned, that it is not a rational decision at all. You cannot rationalize it. The risk is too high, chances you will fail are very, very high. So a rational mind will never do it. It is only people who have some degree of madness or who are irrational are the only ones who can actually attempt something like this. And at that point, actually, I stopped arguing with people and explaining them or giving answers. I said, look, this is what I want to do. If you like it, fine. If you don't, then fine too. But I'm not going to change what I want to do. And if you're happy, come with me. Otherwise, that's it. And then people ask, why? Then, how sometimes people become irrational in these situations. And I was searching for an answer, and I think there's a good example that there was a guy, a very famous mountain climber called George Bellery. And he was the first guy who attempted Everest. And he actually, so he attempted Everest, and then people were asking him, why do you want to do this, right? I mean, nobody has ever been to Everest. It is considered to be an impossible a place to sort of try. And his answer was very simple. I want to try it just because it's there. So, it's a different story that he actually died in his first attempt to Everest. But, yes.
So, he has had a story on this. He actually climbed, and then on the way back.
On the way back. Yeah. So, the point is, lot of these things just come out of pure irrationality, passion. There is no logic, and some people just get, it's like, if you take a simple piece of liquid, there are some electrons which have a higher energy than others, and slight temperature increase some will escape velocity. So it's some phenomena of that kind. So anyway, we got the funding, we started the company, and there were a lot of execution challenges and everything, but we finally built up a good sustainable business called Mojo Networks. I will not go into the Mojo part, but I want to focus more on the story of how we kind of got there. So the money actually helped us to build the company, scale, hire, and so on. But actually hire, I would say, still paused. Even after, so when you're talking to people, first they said, idea, not sure, you got clear, paisa kahan se milega, so now you got funding also. You have VCs behind you, you got money in the bank. Now you go to people and say, look, will you join me? So two of their objections have been, so previously they were unwilling because you didn't have any money, now at least the money is in the bank, so you know you're going to get paid for at least 2-3 years till the money runs out. But again, what I realize is that when I'm talking to even students, some of the brightest students, what I see is some of the brightest students are actually the most conservative. So I then started spotting the people who are failing classes because they are more, ready to take risks. And if you can somehow inspire or fire their imagination or passion, suddenly you can recharge them to do things. So, and then another kind of insight that I sort of stumbled on, while the world is full of conservative people, there are enough mad people also in it. So if you can somehow identify those mad people, that's how you form the team. Because then when they come on board, somewhat sort of a multiplication of energy happens. You say something, they come up with new ideas, the chemistry builds up, momentum builds up, and that's exactly what happened. That as we started walking on this journey, we said, this is what we are doing, आना है तो आओ, नहीं आना तो मत जाओ. आपको सिक्योर जॉब की जाके गूगल याहू में काम करो और रिटायर हो जाओ. अगर आपको कुछ नया ट्राई करना है तो हमारे पास पुणे में आ जाओ, and we are going to try something और इच्छा है तो आ जाओ. So I think some people responded to that blunt message, and we actually built a fairly good team over a period of time. Back in 2009, actually we got the NASCOM Innovation Award, and these are all bunch of people who came from, in fact, this is one sad realization I will share. There are very few ideas in the company. I had better success tapping talent from IITs and from local colleges in Pune. And what I found that there is great talent in these institutes also. And they have more fire in the belly because they couldn't make it to IIT. So they want to prove something. And it is that potential that I thought if you can channel somehow that you will become an engineer who will compete with the guys, engineers in Cisco. And you will create technology which will be better than that. It is that energy and sort of a motivation which really got fired. We built a great team. So I'll actually welcome all of you. If you ever come to Pune, stop by our office, walk around, you see the energy. It's a very young team, but not from some great. We have a few ideas in the leadership position, but that's pretty much it. Tapping a BTech from IIT to come and work for a startup in India, at least that time was very difficult. I don't know what the situation is now, because what is your experience?
Similar.
Yeah. Because they have such easier options in their hand that they are not willing to take that risk. And the point is, unless the young minds are willing to take risks, you can't fire the machinery of innovation so I think a mixed set of, but at the same time, many of these guys who go to Valley, they turn into great entrepreneurs. Because I think somehow the environment there sort of fires up that imagination in their mind. So my key, I think, observation here is that somehow if you can create a conducive climate on campus, question how do you create that climate? I think inviting some entrepreneurs to have a dialogue with the students, hosting some talks, some interactions, some labs, some tinkering activity is what would be a beginning of that. And hopefully we'll see some samples of that in the second half of the talk. Now, so we actually got past the first three barriers. Idea was crisp. We could articulate it in 30 seconds as the elevator was going up. We had $10 million in the bank. We got some good high energy people in the team. We built a product. Now came the real test. How do you sell it? Because then we are trying to go and sell the product. It's like, yeah, but I think somehow the Made in India tag doesn't really infuse a lot of confidence into the technology buyers. They are much more comfortable with the other brands. And how do you kind of break that barrier? And I think what I realized that if you can be successful in the other markets, like Europe, North America, then it becomes easier to sell in the Indian market. Right? I have sold it there, so this is nothing really good. So our problem actually became, how do we catch attention of the global market? Now imagine a small team with very little funds. How do you kind of make your presence? And remember, we were actually originally building a Wi-Fi or wireless security product. And we were telling, if you install this product, we will protect your network from hacking incidents, you will be safe, secure, and nobody was paying attention. And we knew we had technology to do that. And then we actually ran with this dilemma that, we know how to hack the network. We know what the vulnerabilities in the system are. So should I become a hacker and go into one of these banks and show how vulnerable the network are before I can sell my product? But as a technologist, you are not supposed to do that. But you are aware the problems exist. So how do you educate the market that the problem exists and you have a solution? And we actually virtually came to a point where we were running out of money, not having enough sales. And then in one of the slides, I was reading an article which was very insightful to me. And this article basically said, it was actually about NASA. And the article made an observation that NASA is in news only due to two reasons. When they are either looking for money or the shuttle that they have launched fails. So suddenly it's a front page news item. They do so many amazing discoveries every day, but none of that catches the front page news item. So somehow our human brain is wired such that we get attracted to negativity, abnormality, contrast, something drastic. And that is exactly the reason why the TV broadcasters keep changing the frames. Or if you go to the videos, keep changing the frame. That way your brain stays anchored to what's happening. So something drastic is what people need to really catch attention. So if you notice, if you blow a building up, it will become a headline news item. But if you construct an extremely beautiful, architecturally superior building, nobody will pay attention. Why? The process of construction is so much more difficult than the process of doing things. But that's how the brains work. And I think what advertisers and the whole industry does is just keeps bombarding us with negative things, and we sort of stay hooked on to that channel. So while as an academic, I kind of made that observation, I was kind of struggling, how to use this to gain attention. So what we did is we actually found some flaws in the wireless protocol. And then we went to a hacking conference in Vegas and showed a demonstration that how in less than 5 minutes I can crack the security keys. And we called it a cafe latte attack and disclosed the vulnerability. After the talk, one CBS reporter contacted us. Hey, what you said looks scary. Can we talk to you guys? And the next 2 hours, we created a news clip. And the next day, it was aired in the national television in the US. And overnight, we became an entity that everyone knew who we are. And I'll show you an example what they did.
Well, the next time you hand your credit card, a thief may be electronic. Well, the next time you hand your credit card to a store clerk, a thief may be electronically eavesdropping on that transaction. A new study shows the wireless data system stores use to transmit customer data is wide open to hackers. As Tony Versamano shows us, that same wireless security breach could give thieves easy entry into corporate computer networks. the office for a minute to get a latte, you'd be handing over the keys to your company's secrets. But that iPhone you always have with you might as well be an open invitation to thieves to take what they want. In fact, any device that uses a Wi-Fi wireless connection and travels with you in and out of the office is a prime target for a new hacker tool called Cafe Latte. Thank you. It's called Cafe Latte because in the time it takes you to come to a coffee shop with Wi-Fi access, order a latte, and sit down, a hacker sitting across the room can impersonate your office network, causing your device to connect to the hacker automatically.
There is no way for your laptop to really know whether it is connecting to your office network or to some imposter such as a hacker.
Once connected, it takes the Cafe Latte program about 3 to 5 minutes to learn the encryption key for your company's network. Meantime, you sip your coffee unaware that anything is wrong.
Latte was good. Unfortunately, it came with a hot topping of cracked web.
WEP stands for Wired Equivalent Privacy. It's an encryption standard for wireless networks that's notoriously easy to defeat. That's how TJ Maxx lost as many as 96 million credit card and debit card account numbers to a wireless hacker earlier this year. It was the largest reported theft of personal details in history. The thief in the...
Okay, so I think you get the idea that one technical demonstration at this hackers conference and luckily getting noticed by one of the reporters, he sort of gave us the visibility that we are kind of looking for, and suddenly overnight we got the attention of the security administrators of various large enterprises, and we started sort of getting long calls. You guys seem to know your stuff. Let's sit down, talk what you got, and let's start kind of using the technology. So it was kind of a lucky break, and I'll skip some of the other technical stuff. But then we actually went to another DEF CON conference, a black hat conference over the next 2 years, and kept showing that we have the technical competency to understand what the gaps in the protocols are, we know how to exploit them, and we know how to protect against them. About 4 years ago, we disclosed some major vulnerabilities in Apple OS. That got a lot of media attention. And finally, we got the recognition, we used to be called airtight networks back then, that by the industry analysts, they started rating us above Cisco, Motorola, Aruba. These are big giants. And that's how sort of we became a known phenomenon. But the insight for how to really get attention actually came from that article that I read, as I mentioned in one of the slides. So here we were, that we were now getting attention of the market, able to sell our product, and we thought that we have arrived. And retrospectively, I thought the journey is going to be kind of simple, but as it was unfolding, obviously we had so many twists and turns in the process, which we had absolutely never ever imagined. And in fact, when we became more known, that is when I would say that's the point here in this journey. Now the real battle actually started, because then we started competing with the big players. And when you compete with the big players, the amount of power, energy, marketing muscle that they can throw at you to kill you. So first thing that happened, we got sued. We went to a lawsuit, our competitor put a lawsuit saying all our patents are invalid. We ended up spending $1.5 million to fight that IP battle. So the strategy was, if we drain that much money, we'll be out of business. So we won the suit, but we had no money in the bank, so we went eat the food. So then the whole journey of starting the fundraising again started. And then the VCs don't want to touch you because you are undergoing a lawsuit. So you don't know what will happen. So you desperately need money, you know you have better technology, you're going to win, but nobody wants to give you money. And it's like, this is very, very, very scary. I think we have come to a near-death situation several times in our life. So what I realized that, having scored the first 4 naive barriers that I earlier imagined, the real journey actually started now, when we actually started executing the business. And to give you a feel for what kind of challenge, see, as an academician, you conceptualize problems, you write equations, you find closed forms, and you solve them. You don't have an appreciation for real life issues and what kind of, if I may use the word, when a shit hits the fan, what issues you got to deal with. you sort of don't have good appreciation for that. And sort of only when you get thrown into a situation, you sort of understand the gravity of what you're dealing with. So let me give you another very interesting story. As we were growing our business, we were getting orders. And we got one order which said, ship us new model devices within 6 weeks. And this new model device doesn't even exist. It has to be designed, it has to be manufactured, produced, software has to be flagged on it, and then shipped. But the order was so big that we could not say no. So we said, well, we will do it. And then people started working 24/7. We started building that whole prototype. Now, in a typical these engineering projects, you have well thought of filters and channels to make sure that you don't make mistakes. But there was no way we could have done that in that fast time. So we started taking out some layers of tests because we had to ship. And the whole system is working on the assumption that everybody is doing their job perfectly, everything will go right, and you will kind of hit your deadline and you will get it. Okay, you don't have any choice. So we had to ship 5,000 devices, and the schedule was so tight that we created this plan that the hardware board will be manufactured. One person will travel from Taiwan with the board in the hand. As soon as he lands, he'll take a taxi, come to the lab, everything will be ready, you'll stick it in, load the software, do the testing overnight, say yes. Next day the assembly line will run, and you will produce 5,000 devices, ship them and done. So we got to lay this whole plan out, and everything kind of had to go right for it to work. Now suddenly in between, one of our vice presidents of product management, he got an urgent call to go to I think Indonesia for some meeting, who was kind of project managing the whole event. So he went to Indonesia to attend that meeting. This plan was there, and after finishing his conference on a Friday evening, he took a boat ride. They had a conference, boat ride, he took a boat ride, and the mistake he did, he took 3 extra glasses of wine on that boat ride. So after he came back to his room, he forgot to send one email which was so critical that that shipment is going to arrive on a Saturday morning. Take it, test it, and then send an OK. Well, that 2-liner mail he just couldn't send because he had 3 extra glasses of red wine on that boat. Now next day, obviously nobody knows that this is supposed to happen. And that board didn't arrive. Nobody tested it. And the manufacturer was under so much of deadline pressure, they thought that no message means yes. If there's something wrong, they would tell us no. And they ran the assembly line, produced 5,000 boxes, and said, ready. So now Monday morning, we sort of did a meeting check, where are we? And I came to know that apparently that board didn't arrive in the lab. So we quickly obtained the board, tested it, and it failed to boot. And now we had 5,000 boxes already manufactured, ready to be shipped, and basically the ship hit the fan. So I got a call from US that right now board the flight to Taiwan, go there and fix it. So I took a straight flight to Taiwan along with my VP of product management, landed there. We reached like 2 a.m. in the morning, went to the hotel room, and the meeting was supposed to start next day at 7:30 in the morning. So I get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to the toilet, sitting there just to get ready to go to the meeting. And the situation was so tense that I'm booting up my laptop while I'm sitting on the seat. And suddenly a phone comes from US, are you in a meeting? I said, no, I am still sort of getting ready, don't worry, I'll be there. By the time the laptop is booted up, and Skype automatically starts, and Skype starts, and from the Skype, my VP of sales is calling me, hey, are you ready? Are you in the meeting yet? I said, no. So CEO is on the phone, VP of sales is on the Skype, and I'm sitting on the seat. And then my colleague started knocking on the door. So I'm trying to figure out, what do I do next? Do I finish the job? Do I answer the CEO? Or tell VP of sales, don't worry, I'm here, I've landed. And because I am not answering his calls. So he went to the reception, got the hotel person to come and break open the door.
Oh my God.
So suddenly I see 5 people walking on the toilet while I am sitting with Skype and phone, and 5 people walking in the toilet, and I like it. I'm fine, don't worry, just So this was just a simple execution error which sort of created this whole drama. And that day I realized that look, I am an academician turned entrepreneur. I am not the execution person. You need seasoned execution people. I mean, you CPU cannot substitute for experience. Very simple insight. And coming as a aggressive, IIT grad, I had that air earlier that take any problem, I'll solve it. But I think that day my sort of confidence was shattered. I think I need the right seasoned COO material, guy who has really ran this in mind, who knows where things go wrong. Just throwing more algorithmic intelligence into this system is not going to work. So finally, the lesson learned there was, look, it was a massive failure, but it was definitely a sort of first attempt at learning. And I think the good thing to realize that if you fail doesn't mean that sort of it's time to get disheartened and stop, unless you start seeing a statistically significant pattern. So take it in the right spirit, and because they're bound to, if you're running a bigger ship, if you're running a larger system, shit is going to hit the fan. There's no way you can avoid it. It is how you deal with it, and you figure out where the lapses are, what holes need to be plugged, what are the right individuals and skill sets need to be brought on the board. That is the critical piece. Making the judgment call, that is really the key. Because there is no way you can run a ship which is not going to fail. If you are going to become a leading administrator somewhere, mentally be prepared. That's bound to happen. And actually, another appreciation I have developed in my life, that Murphy's law is so correct. Whenever anything you suspect can go wrong, it will definitely will go wrong. There is no way on the preparation. So nowadays, I am anxious to find out when the failure is going to happen. Once the failure happens, then I am relieved. Now, because chances that you're going to get 2 successive failure come out, they can come out, but expect if something will go wrong, and then sort of deal with it. So the other thing sort of I learned, that common sense is actually in short supply. And I think this applies to me also. I mean, I used to be very good at solving non-linear equations, differential equations, the IIT, and anybody gives a problem, I'm quickly trying to formulate where is the non-linearity and I'll be model it. But I realized that real life actually is a simple Excel sheet. Multiply, divide, add, subtract, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होता. मतलब बहुत complicated modeling जरूरत नहीं, especially if you are running a large system. And we try to become, more sophisticated than what the situation demands. And sometimes just applying common sense, but somehow we are not trained to do that. And I'll give you an example. My thesis for moving here to India and building a technology company was that I can build a product at a lower cost. And hence, when I sell that product in the global market, I will have a cost advantage. And that's what will allow me to scale it, right? After 10 years of journey, I realized that that is not common sense at all. And the reason is, the cost of engineering is not the dominant factor in a technology company at all. It is the cost of selling. So cost of selling will still remain the same. So even if you reduce the cost of engineering, it's a noise in the total system. So the strategic advantage that you thought is not there. In fact, the selling becomes more difficult because you are remote from the market. And then a competitor who's selling multiple products has a lower cost of sale compared to you because you are selling only one product. So to make a sale, you have to make 5 visits to an account. And 5 visits you sell something which doesn't even cover the cost of your 5 travels. How are you going to build a business on? So you have to price it high to be able to make a viable business. So if you have to price it high, then the cost of engineering is a noise. So the whole assumption was flawed, and it's a simple 6th grade mathematics. But I didn't understand it till 10 years. I ran the business and faced the situation when you're running out of money. So sometime I realized that, in our, and this is when I see that I have, I don't know, so our VP of sales comes from the same community as a Manish, and the business sense and the human that he has, though he's not from IT, is so much sharper than any of our differential equation have. So I think there is something in the gene pool that teaches you to get to the common sense faster. So I think what I realized when you're building a team, it's important to identify people who sort of complement each other and bring that diverse experience to your sort of a team. And key to business success is actually get to a point where you're self-sustaining. And this is the point which looks simple, but is extremely hard to get, especially in a technology market. And it took us a very, very long period of time to get this far. And the one key insight that I learned reaching this far is that whenever you are trying to do something different, you are going to require 3 times more of everything that you have budgeted for. And that universal formula applies to everything. The time, capital, patience, perseverance, everything. So when some new entrepreneurs come to me for advice and they say, how should I do the planning? I tell them, look, you do a very sophisticated cash flow model using your best spreadsheet tools, all the models. Find the number you get, multiply by 3. That's the formula. And then, because if you don't budget that, you are going to run into some very, very dire situation. And it definitely was true in our case for capital, time, as well as patience and perseverance. So I think the earlier talk mentioned that you evolve yourself as an individual through the journey. I'm a far more patient person now than what I was. And I think this series of challenges and failures is what has sort of brought me to get to this degree of realization. Actually, what time do we have to stop the time? Sure. 12:30 or so. So I have 15 minutes. Okay, good. Now, culture, setting the right culture in the organization is an extremely important thing. Because we actually got a deeper appreciation for this, not in the early times. See, when the team is small, you don't even notice it. But when the team starts growing in size, that is when you identify some people who are slackers, who are really not able to run the velocity that you want them to run. And they are kind of there, but they are mentally not on board. And they are always coming with complaints, and you are trying to do things, they are not aligned. Question is, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with this problem, right? And so we had this situation where, we kind of did some company offsites, say, look, let's define what the company culture is, let's involve everyone. And another thing is, ours was a long journey. We were sort of ran for only about 40, 50 years. So maintaining faith, patience of people for that period of time without rewards is extremely hard. So you can run fast sprints, but expecting people to run marathon with that sprint velocity is hard. And people sort of run out of energy, faith. So the lesson learned was that somehow if you can turn the day-to-day interactions into a little bit of light-tempered incidences, so that at least it releases that stress and tension, and there is some sort of camaraderie that builds up among the team members, and you sort of start seeing things in a much more light-hearted way. The question is, how do you inject that element of fun into it when you are going through a stressful situation? So the only thing you can radiate is that tension and stress, right? But if you keep doing that, then you're not going to inspire people around you, right? So how do you mix some element of fun and joy and excitement in the work? So what we have sort of done is we have sort of empowered people to explore their passions. So for example, when we moved, we added a new floor to our office. We asked the graphic team that, here is the wall. You do whatever you want. And then we saw there was one person who really took the challenge and worked nights to create an amazingly beautiful graphic. This graphic is built just using triangles. Just a bunch of triangles connected together to create this picture. And that process of doing that was a channelization of that person's energy, and we got something beautiful which lightened the whole environment. We didn't spend any money, but it generated immense amount of energy and excitement in the team. I'll give you another example. We have one problem we were facing. We have a small office, bunch of small conference rooms. We have chai during our meetings, and then people leave. So those cups of chai are still there. So when the next meeting starts, we said, what's this? So the first thing you will do is to collect all the cups and clean it up, and then do your meeting. And then when you finish your meeting, you leave your cups there. So when the next guy comes, they have the same problem. And I was kind of struggling, how do I solve this problem? If you get people in the room and lecture them, from tomorrow you will not do it, it just doesn't stick. And you can't lecture about every little thing, right? I mean, some things need to sort of happen ground up. And the team is not sort of feeling that energy, so how do you really inspire them and to do this? So the way this problem was solved was actually a very interesting story. So one of my colleagues also, he came up with the idea. He created a contest that, this is the problem we have. And anybody who comes up with a creative idea, you are empowered to do it. And then he ran this concert, and what happened? After about 4 weeks, one day, Monday morning, I go to the office and I see these posters all over the place. So I don't know how quickly you can see. These are tea coasters. So first one is Nana Patekar, you can't see clearly. He is saying, Ata Maji Sataki. So there is Nana Patekar looking at you when you put the cup there. He is getting angry. The other one is a poster with, I think, the typical Ma character. Rupa. Beta, isko ghar hi samjho. The third one is this guy, the Western movie, Clint Eastwood, saying that, basically take things in your own hands. So we've found an amazing transformation. First, when the people walked into the room, everyone was amused that, what is this? And we saw that actually the problem was solved. So a very creative, fun solution to a problem which just overnight got solved just by mixing some fun and animating and a bunch of creativity. So another example, we had a problem that people were not switching off lights before they were walking out of the rooms and anything. So again, you can't see the picture. Here Sanjeev Kumar का पोस्टर लगा दिया कि उसकी एक मूवी है ना, उसमें हाथ कट गया था कि sorry, I don't have a hand, I can't switch it off. So that poster is right next to that light switch. And so if you come to our office, you will see that all lights are off when we leave the office. And we didn't have to do any meeting, we didn't have to say anything, it just happened. Again and again, right next to the printer, we have this poster, Sunny Deol. Sunny Deol is telling you, print, and he's kind of looking at you. So very, very sort of, sometimes, these problems have a very non-linear solutions in a dimension that we often don't explore. And I think it is the process of doing these things along the journey which makes things fun. Because I think I tell you, leading an organization is a highly stressful job. It is a highly stressful job. Every day there's going to be something new. But if you sort of create this environment where some fun keeps happening, it sort of gives you a reason to enjoy that day and have a laugh and kind of interact with your colleagues and it actually becomes even more better when you don't do it yourself. When there are others in the system who take initiative and create that sort of spice in the environment. Your key job is to identify those people and empower them. And then things happen. So here is another very interesting example. I am sure all of us are from academic field. That we had so I since come from an R&D background, I used to invite speakers for talks in the company. So initially there was excitement, people used to sit. Later I saw attendance is kind of people are saying no, मुझे वो deadline है, वो काम करना है, and I also realized there are two things happening. Sometimes the speakers are also not delivering the content in a form where people can find it engaging. There's too much of dry substance in India. And also the population that we have is of a different age group. They are used to seeing YouTube videos and fast action movies and it is a bit too hard on them. So we again did the same thing. But I do realize that exposing people to some new ideas and new ways of thinking is important. Because if you lock yourself out from any new stuff, you're not going to grow. But how do we solve this problem? So again, we sort of floated this idea, and one of the person in our team came up with the great idea. He said, I know how to solve the problem. So he created a forum called Tech Talk. We have a Tech Talk every Thursday evening. And the constraint is, it is only 15 minutes. Speaker is pressed to articulate his or her ideas within those 15 minutes. And after that, we have a snack break. So if somebody drags on too long, people start shouting, hello. So it puts pressure onto the presenter also to start coherently putting their ideas forward. And it has now evolved into sort of a tech talk, TED Talk style format that you have to really do a good job of using those 15 minutes and engage in a Q&A. And suddenly we saw that the attendance was back. We now have a very high degree of attendance into this tech talk because people know only 15 minutes. I'm going to find something new. It's going to be value to me. So cutting the format from 1 hour down to 15 minutes was the killer idea, which I could not have anticipated. But one of our young guys put in the idea and it is sticking, it is working. So I think I'll start wrapping up sort of now. So in a short sort of, you will sort of get a feel for the journey. I have given some different snippets of the kinds of challenges and issues we sort of face. In retrospectively, what I realized is that the goal that we had set for ourselves to do everything from ground up, deal with all challenges, it was almost like trying to grow a tree in a desert, because now you have to systemically deal with all the challenges. Reason by Silicon Valley or MIT and those environments are much more successful because of the climate and the environment that they've created around them. So I think the key to inspiring entrepreneurial thinking on campus is to think of what are the ingredients required to create that microclimate. And once you create the climate, trees will automatically grow. You don't have to do anything. And I think what many of the universities have been very successful is in sort of creating the right level of environment there. So with that much insight and everything, I'll come to the final point. This is sort of the punchline of the whole presentation. That even after you do everything, you've got idea, you've got a team, funding, superb execution, culture and everything, there are factors beyond your control that you just cannot do anything about. and being at the right place at the right time, providing the right solution is so critical that oftentimes people are successful because they were riding the wave at the right time. So previously I used to be a believer in the Gita's philosophy कि आप कर्म करते जाओ. Now I realize कि कर्म तो आपको करना ही है. You also have to become lucky. So luck does play a very, very big role in who ends up becoming successful and who doesn't. Pure effort and karma is not the. I mean that's absolutely a necessity. उसके बिना तो कुछ नहीं होगा. लेकिन that has no guarantee कि आप you will achieve your sort of a goals. So the question is how do you sort of inspire people? So the very simple one-line phrase that I have arrived at कि देखो आप काम करो. Only two things will happen in life. Either you will become lucky or you will become wiser. तो what do you have to lose? आप ज्ञानी बनोगे या तो आप धनी बनोगे. तो the way I describe myself is, I have acquired a lot of wisdom and still waiting for that someday to strike. So finally, the forces of the nature, the luck or the timing is something you cannot control. You just have to be ready to ride the wave when it comes. So I'll stop at this point. And maybe 30 more seconds. So timing wise, we just got acquired by a company called Arista as of 3 months ago. And this company actually builds data center networking improvement. So all the big data centers in the world, Google, Facebook, they are powered by Arista's switching technology. So this is a company which is competing with Cisco head on. They have created a sort of very differentiated technology, and they liked us because we were a bunch of entrepreneurs who were creating a disruptive technology in the Wi-Fi space. And company actually has a very phenomenal set of founders. Andy Bagelstein, who was the founder of Sun Microsystems, David Sheridan, who is a professor of distributed systems at Stanford, and Ken Judah, who is a student. These are three people who started the company. Jayshree Ullav, who is a very well-known exec in the network technology industry, is the CEO. And this is a company which is $20 billion market cap. David Sheridan is a very famous professor. He is the first person who gave encouragement and funding to Google founders. A very well-respected name. Andy Bagelstein, he is the inventor of 400 gig Ethernet. And Ken, and finally Jayshree. And we are really sort of excited to be now part of a bigger team. And our mission in life is to promote this idea of, empowering students to think big and do amazing things. And in the second session, I will actually pick up this thread and tell a few more stories and then hand it off to Manish. I don't think I got time to talk about this story or even this story. Maybe we can talk about it in the break, or I will give a sneak preview in the second session. Equally interesting stories. So I think my life is just full of encounters in Murphy's Law and finding ways to deal out of it. Thank you.
Maybe one or two questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You said there are some equally good number of mad people who are enthusiastic.
Yes.
How to spot them?
Actually, I think the key is to continue to display your madness, and sometimes those people will spot it and they will come and talk to you. That's how we have built the team. We have people who start approaching us, and once you talk to them, you can figure out these guys have energy, they are excited, they want to do something. And so I don't look at educational qualifications as much as I look at that passion and energy. So I think the key is that you should keep displaying your madness in every forum.
The problem is, most of the Tier 2 cities, engineering colleges, they are almost excluded from most of the companies. They don't even visit those campuses for campus recruitment. They look at only
if you go and meet people and tell them you want them to come to your institute, give a talk, people will do it. Because people are also looking for inspiring leaders to partner with. So even if you are in Tier 2 city, you will find people who will be willing to travel. There are mad people who will do that. So there is enough madness in the world. You just have to tap into it. Yes.
You mentioned about the fire in the belly being in more perceptible in the Tier 2 colleges and Tier 3 colleges. Sort of kind of a catch-22 situations. Here is IITs, which is giving the best of the training, but the other part where which are deprived, and that fire is, how do you reconcile these two aspects?
I think, people, when they are against adversities, is when they really shine and discover who they are. So, JEE has become a filter that, once people cross it, they start to become complacent. That's not right.
उनको लगता है कि पता नहीं अब हो गया सब.
They think अब तो बंदा पूरा I can count के diamond fund में कितना पैसा आएगा, take it easy. So while if you have an environment where you continue to strive, the problem is I think थोड़ा filter इतना हो गया है कि people get tired and fatigued by the time they are over.
Exactly. Burning is too
Much burning can happen. But I think how to create that spark on campuses is really the topic of our next session, which Manish will talk about. Because he is beginning that process on IIT Gandhi campus, and there is no reason why it cannot be scaled onto many more campuses at the same time.
But madness may not
madness may not yield a dividend every time. Sometimes you may land up in a mess or at a loss. And then how to deal with that?
Yes, that's why I told you that this kind of work is you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So I think you have to be a mad person with a cover of rational protection. But if you keep playing safe, you will not hit the century. Somewhere you have to take risks. आपको आगे छिक्का मारना ही पड़ेगा और बोर्ड भी हो सकते हो.
But for that you have to have the support of your partner. In fact, you should appreciate your wife. That she
Really, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
But I was just thinking, like, why when you had a good idea,
Yes.
and you had all the kind of ladder you have to go up.
Yeah.
So you have already an established overseas partner or somebody. Why didn't you partner actually with anybody with your idea?
So we had chances to. I think we wanted to think big. We will build our own brand and sell it. And so we didn't want to quickly compromise with that. So, and that's what kept us going.
Build the initial confidence.
Actually, in confidence, what I realized कि I was too naive when I jumped into this. And then I discovered this is much bigger than what you anticipate, but you have no exit path. So you just have to keep going. And the process of keep going gradually builds your confidence. When you're burnt to bridges, you have nowhere to go.
Okay. This afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m. we have a discussion session. Dr. Praveen, Manish, Dr. Arvind Sahai will all be available on the stage. At 5 o'clock, we have a facility visit to the airstrip of the institute. And from 2 p.m. onwards, your talk and these very interesting science experiments, they will resume till tea break. At 3:45 p.m. we have a group photograph. So since you mentioned Sunny Dio, And,
No.
so I have a Sunny Deol.
Sunny Deol.
Oh, Deol get it. Look, Deol get it. I have a similar, let's say, a crack. You say here, picture Abhi Baki hai.
If there are, maybe let me take a small another liberty. If people are willing to wait for 2 more minutes, I will show you a sneak trailer of the movie that we built, and then we can, since I may not get the chance in the second half, so we'll take 2 more minutes. So this is actually a movie we built to celebrate our 25th year reunion. And mic hai kya? I will. Yeah. So this is a small trailer, 2 minutes. You will get a feel for कि वो movie में क्या है.
The situation is under control.
Most of the people that I know who have done incredibly well, they were very all-rounded, they were kind of interested in other things too, and they were all very street smart.
IT has a completeness and a myth and a mystery. It's an experience that I enjoyed. Really, the end was not important. The maximum education happens from your peer groups. It is felt and experienced in different ways by different people.
Take a look at it and
No. I just thought, I don't know whether the introduction was, but I just wanted to do that Praveen is one of the early inventors of Wi-Fi, because he was in the early teams in the IBM, for which we have all the Wi-Fi is considered an international authority on Wi-Fi, which is so pervasive today. So I think we are very fortunate to have him here because, as you know, the success of the Wi-Fi, but that was a technology that he was part of when he was in IBM, that he worked in. So that very few people know. So I would just say that he's considered a real international authority on the wireless local area networks. So
I think that taking technology and building company has been much more exciting.
That was the point that I just thought, I'll just tell you about the other things. And of course, another thing that you don't know, that all the Reliance Jio's Wi-Fi network is currently built on their technology.
Thank you very much. See you at 2 o'clock.